Okay, so this is warm up for our requirement. We are talking about the neurological system. This is warm up. The 12 pairs of cranial nerves from the brain arise mostly from the brain stem. The brain stem performs motor, sensory, and reflex functions. Motor, sensory, and reflex functions arise mostly from the brain stem. The brain stem contains the thalamus and hypothalamus glands. The hypothalamus gland is situated in the brain stem. The hypothalamus controls the autonomic nervous systems. The hypothalamus also connects the endocrine and nervous systems, thus coordinating the functions of the body. The cerebellum is part of the brain that is located behind the brain stem. The cerebellum is concerned with coordinating voluntary muscular activity. The cerebellum is called the little brain. The second largest division of the brain is called the cerebellum. The cerebrum occupies most of the brain cavity. The forebrain is also called the cerebrum. The functions of the cerebrum are concerned with memory, thought, judgment, sensation, and reason. The student had a convulsion prior to going to class. A seizure is also known as a convulsion. The teacher took the student to the health center after she had her convulsion. The student has episodic attacks of convulsions. A dendrite is a branching process that extends from the cell body of a neuron. Each neuron possesses several dendrites which receive impulses that are conducted to the cell body. A ganglion is a mass of nerve cells. A ganglion is a cluster of nerve cells and is located outside the brain and spinal cord. A cluster of nerve cells which is located outside the brain and spinal cord is known as a ganglion. In Greek terminology, the word synapse means a connection. A synapse is a connection between the processes of two neurons for the transmission of impulses. The transmission of impulses from two neurons is a synapse. The spinal cord is enclosed in the spinal column where it is protected from injury. The spinal cord has three coverings, which are known as the meninges. The spinal cord has both an ascending and descending tract. It is through the spinal cord that the brain maintains associations with all the peripheral organs. Okay, so that was just a little, it was called control practice. Okay, so obviously they were rather repetitive things, sentences. All right, so this we will pause briefly. Okay, and this is going to be our requirement, or one of them, dictated this week. The cerebellum is called the little brain and is the second largest division of the brain. It is situated just above the medulla, which it overhangs, and beneath the rear portion of the cerebrum.
I'm sorry, overhangs
and beneath the rear portion of the cerebrum. The chief function of the cerebellum is to bring balance, harmony, and coordination to the motions of the body initiated by the cerebrum. The cerebellum consists of two lateral cerebellar hemispheres, or lobes, and a middle section called the vermis. Three pairs of peduncles. I will look that up because I'm not sure at all about that. Link it with the brainstem. To carry out its functions, the cerebellum acts as an organ of integration and correlation of nerve impulses, which are received as a running commentary from their ends in the muscles, tendons, and the joints. Through its vestibular portion, it is connected with the semicircular canals of the ear, the mechanisms that react to gravity and sudden changes or movement of the head. The cerebellum exerts a modifying or regulating influence upon muscular activities whose primary centers are in other parts of the brain or spinal cord. Primary centers are in other parts of the brain or spinal cord. It has connections with the motor neurons of the brain and cord, and through these connections, the muscles receive impulses to react. Through these connections, the cerebellum makes the finer adjustments and distributes the appropriate degree of muscle tone to various groups of muscles. Destruction of the cerebellum results in loss of precise and fine cooperative actions and imperfect muscular control results. Muscular control results.
Don't laugh at me, Diana. I'm laughing at her, not at you.
Thanks.
That makes you feel better.
The cerebrum is the largest and uppermost section of the brain, divided by a central sulcus into the left and right cerebral hemispheres. The internal structures of the hemispheres merge with those of the diencephalon and further communicate with the brainstem through the cerebral cortex with its gray substance, the underlying semi-ovale with its white substance, the internal basal ganglia, and certain centrally and medially located structures comprising the rhinencephalon. The surface of the cerebrum.
I thought we were done.
No, we are not done. The surface of the cerebrum is convoluted and lobed, each lobe bearing the name of the bone under which it lies. The cerebrum performs sensory functions, motor functions, and less easily defined integration functions associated with various mental activities. It generates a variety of electrical waves that may be recorded on an electroencephalogram to localize areas of brain dysfunction, to identify altered states of consciousness, or to establish brain death. Some of the other processes that are controlled or affected by the cerebrum are memory, speech, writing, and emotional response.
Are we done?
We are done. All right. So read that back at home, will you?
Oh.